protest. The bank in the northeastern region of AlJazeera is one of many that was targeted on Sunday. Government officials say the bank was set alight by troublemakers linked to nationwide pro-democracy protests. At least 2,000 people took to the streets of the capital, Rabat, to demand a new constitution. Tensions also high in Bahrain, where protesters in Pearl Square are calling for the overthrow of the ruling Al Khalifa family. Volunteers and doctors are preparing for the possibility of more bloodshed by setting up mobile medical clinics to treat the injured. Scores of people sought treatment at the clinics on Monday. 8 people have been killed so far in clashes between security forces and protesters. The opposition wants political reform, which includes less powers for the ruling royal family. Our correspondent James Bays takes a look at what might be next on the political horizon for Bahrain.
There are still thousands of people here at the Pearl Roundabout gathered. You can see them there. Many spent the night here, and they've got all the facilities to stay. You can see the food here being cut up for the crowd, water here, free electricity from the generators. Not just men here, but women and children who've come to spend time here to show that they're with this protest. A range of different views among the people here, some talking about a constitutional monarchy, reform of the constitution. Others go much further. They say they want the king and the government removed from this country. They say they're prepared to stay for as long as it takes until that happens.
And it's all happening across the region. More protests in Yemen, where the veteran president is refusing to stand down. Ali Abdullah Saleh is calling for what he calls a national dialogue instead. And a coalition of opposition groups has agreed to talk to him. Well, that's after 12 people were killed in nationwide trouble since Thursday. With the latest from the capital, Sana'a, our correspondent Hashim Al-Habra.
President Saleh hits out at the opposition. He says they are not genuine about reform and that they are riding the wave of popular discontent to topple the government.
We have offered a package of reforms following calls from the opposition, but unfortunately, after the reforms offer was endorsed by the people, the opposition asked for more concessions, some of which are unacceptable, like the departure of the regime.
The veteran leader offered an explanation to the surge in anti-government protests in his country.
This is a contagious disease alien to our country. It started in Tunisia and then spread to Egypt and now to other countries in the region. It's a fever, a flu. It takes one to sneeze for the other to cough on the spot.
Here in the capital, the students and reform activists are emboldened by the growing support and sympathy for their demands.
This whole area is now under the control of the pro-democracy protesters. They have set up checkpoints everywhere to prevent government loyalists from attacking them. That would just lead to further escalation and violent clashes, like we saw during the last few days. Now they're saying that they will hold out, that they will continue their fight for as long as it takes to enforce change.
They say that their uprising is the result of decades of oppression and corruption.
33 years, how can they say a democratic country? And the president on the chair 33 years. I can't believe that.
I finished my graduation, I have no job. Yeah, I speak English, speak French, I speak Czech, I speak Arabic, but until now I couldn't find a job.
A situation of impasse reigns in the country. All sides stick to their positions, and the calls for a national unity government are dismissed by the president, who says that with a prime minister from the opposition, the affairs of the state will crumble in a week. Hashim Al-Habra, AlJazeera, Sana'a.
Tunisia, where it all started, is formally requesting the extradition of ex-President Zine Al Abidine Ben Ali from Saudi Arabia. The former leader who ruled Tunisia for 23 years flew to the Gulf state after being ousted from power. Meanwhile, we're getting reports that Tunisia has appointed a new foreign minister. Mouldi Kessi replaces Ahmed Ounais, who resigned last week. Well, as the violence in Libya escalates, Britain has taken the step of summoning the Libyan ambassador to London. Let's cross to Felicity Barr in our European News Centre. Felicity, what more do we know about that?
Well, Shirley, I can tell you that the summoning of the ambassador to the Foreign Office here in London followed some very strong words of condemnation from the British Foreign Minister. William Hague's comments came as he attended a meeting of EU foreign ministers in Brussels. Live now to Rory Challens, who joins us outside the British Foreign Office in London. So, Rory, strong words and quite a lengthy statement from William Hague.
Well, Felicity, yeah, very strong words by the usually tame standards of international diplomatic language. He called what's going on in Libya deplorable and unacceptable. And when the Libyan ambassador arrived here about 3 hours ago, he would have been treated to some broadly similar language from what William Hague was using in Brussels when he spoke earlier.
We have summoned the Libyan ambassador to the Foreign Office in London today, again to express our absolute condemnation of the use of lethal force against demonstrators. Britain is calling today for an end to such violence and for all concerned to behave with humanity and with restraint. Credibility of the Libyan government in these matters has been undermined so far by their failure to protect their own people and to respond to the legitimate grievances of people in Libya.
So the British government wants certain things from Libya. It wants the violence to stop immediately. It also wants an investigation into the killings that have happened so far, and it wants a commitment from the Libyan government towards economic and political reform. If it doesn't get that, the British government says the international community will be holding the Libyan government to account for all its actions, Felicity.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Rory, isn't it? Because in recent years, of course, Britain's relations with Libya have markedly improved, haven't they?
Yes, they have, and those relations have raised eyebrows around the world, particularly in America, where the sort of rapprochement with Libya has angered many people in the US government. The US ambassador said as much on Sunday, saying that the UK's dealings with Gaddafi and his government was essentially a mistake. Now, if you cast your mind back to 2007, Tony Blair going out to Libya and meeting with Gaddafi then for what was called the deal in the desert, that was immensely controversial on both sides of the Atlantic, both here and in the US. Many people thinking that essentially it was just a deal for oil, letting BP into Libya to mine for oil, to look for oil reserves there, and it wasn't a bringing in of Libya from the international cold. Now, the British government says that actually that deal and what followed was good for Libya, and it was good also for the international community, because it meant that Libya abandoned certain things that had been angering many people, like its pursuit of nuclear weapons, and it also helped the EU with illegal immigration and with what the EU calls terrorism. So the British government is pointing to certain benefits that came out of that, and not what the US is calling the trouble that's happened so far. But as you look at this, you can see that the language that's being used now is things like deplorable and unacceptable, and not the previously optimistic language that was used about Libya's relationship with the world.
All right, very strong language indeed. Rory Challens reporting live there from outside the Foreign Office in central London. Thanks for that. So then, European Union ministers who are currently meeting in Brussels have been finalising a statement condemning the Libyan government's crackdown on protesters. In a moment, we'll go live to Brussels. But first, let's get the latest on that meeting from AlJazeera's Jackie.